Jim, you've got the first email.
I do have the first email, and as is tradition, I'm going to read it. Bobby has been in touch, possibly Greyfriars Bobby, almost certainly not. He says, what's the most ridiculous piece of received wisdom in football that people just keep on repeating? It crossed my mind when everyone started slagging off the Real Madrid goalkeeper for letting in Sané's very fast, very early strike just because it went to his near post.
Yeah, that is a classic one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keepers should never be beaten at their near post. Because I said that on, would it have been Wednesday's show? When I first saw it, I was like, oh, keeper would be disappointed with that. And then I saw how fast Sané hit it, and I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Also, Sané hits that with his, I suppose we're not to get in the question just yet, but Sané hits that in his dribbling stride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's no pullback. So stuff like that, yeah, I totally agree with you.
I mean, basically, they're saying keepers shouldn't be beaten at their near post. They're going on the proviso that a goalkeeper is stood very close to the near post.
Yes, yeah.
And obviously, angles can change.
Yeah.
And not every angle is the same, Jim, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Gary Neville sort of tied himself up in knots in commentary a little bit, saying that goals should never be conceded?
Yes, yeah.
If everyone was doing their jobs, there would never be goals.
Yeah, because defenders are just inherently better at their
Really
jobs
funny.
than strikers.
Because he said, because he eventually got pushed into saying that he thinks goalkeepers should save everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0-0. If a game is not 0-0, it's a disgrace.
Standards are amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I know.
amazing.
Yeah, so I think the near post one is a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, generally, if it's not. If it's a certain type of shot, but he smashed it and he wasn't that far out. Do you know what I mean? So
I think the most obvious one of these is that penalties are a lottery, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it almost feels cliche to say that now, but you do still sometimes hear it. It tends to be
hear
from
it enough.
proper football men of a bygone age, but there is still this idea.
Yeah, I think that comes from. I think that comes from the way those phrases come about, if that makes sense, because. I know
what you mean.
I was always saying the way that it's implied as a lottery is because there are so many variables that while you would favour a striker from that position when the goalkeeper's on his line, that kind of goes out the window because of the pressure. But then because people keep saying the phrase, explaining the phrase, you're in a situation where obviously it's not a lottery.
No, you're right. I think
it was just an exaggeration just to, for effect.
Yeah, if you take the 2006 World Cup final between France and Italy, I think it was one penalty was missing. It was Trezeguet who clipped the underside of the bar. I mean, again, it's the margins, isn't it? Which is why we use the word margins quite a lot, because it is just a couple of inches that goes in, the penalty shootout carries on, and you're into chaos theory. It is such fine stuff in a penalty shootout, and you're right. Normally, I mean, talked about Aston Villa against Olympiacos. Normally, Douglas Luiz puts that away, but it's just the other side of the post. There's plenty of examples here of when Kevin De Bruyne misses a penalty for Man City when he screwed it. Why you think, blimey, what happened there, or whatever. Again, loads and loads and loads of examples. So yes, there is an element of that the goalkeeper has made a stunning save because the goalkeeper just thrown himself one way. And has guessed right. So goalkeepers do guess. So penalty takers will hit the ball in a certain area, thinking So yes, there's a sort of a touch of the guesswork there. But clearly, if you look at certain countries, Argentina have got a fantastic record in penalty shootouts.
Yeah.
So do Germany. We know this. England do not. It's no coincidence. It's not like, oh, blimey, that bloke keeps winning the lottery, So you're right to say that. And another one I was going to bring in is that it's harder to play against 10 men sometimes than against 11 men.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was working with a very high profile former footballer who said this once, and I said, well, no, I mean, what you mean is when a team goes ultra defensive and plays really deep or plays with a low block, to use modern language, that makes it really difficult to break them down. It's not the fact that, if a team get a player sent off, you don't go, oh, no, I hope it's not one of these lots of 10 men.
Who suddenly become superhuman.
Exactly. Yeah. It's good for the opposition team if an opposing player gets sent off. It's an advantage. It wouldn't be given. If the rule wouldn't stand. If 10 men kept beating 11 men, you'd be thinking, brilliant, we'll get a man sent off. That'll help us. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of thing, it's sometimes harder to play against 10 men. No, what you mean is when they go deep, when they play ultra defensive, that can make it more difficult to break them down. And that's understandable. I get that.
Yeah. Especially when you're reaching a bit, when you're the 11 men as well, and you think, well, we should be winning this. And then you start getting in your own head about it. Yeah.
So there's all those kind of things. I mean, here's a great one. at grassroots level football, which perhaps maybe you'll be able to identify with, is when you look at the opposition and clearly, for whatever reason, it's painfully obvious that that's not their first choice goalkeeper. In fact, that's probably not a goalkeeper at all. Lads, shoot on sight.
Yeah.
That receiver, well, we should shoot. It's just, you just play your
He
normal...
has got no control of his bodily functions.
Exactly.
Because I've never seen him before.
You should always...
He's more of a mist.
You should always just play your normal game.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, then you will score the chances that you will create like normal and so on. Whereas if it's like...
We had 30 shots from the halfway line.
Exactly. Yeah. Shooting from by kicks, it's not a good idea.
That's not their usual standard bearer. Attack.
Exactly, yeah.
Get the horses.
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
I have a thought on this as well, and this is slightly different because it's not on the pitch, but
Right.
it's inspired by something I heard in a pub a couple of seasons ago when Man City were playing a Champions League game in Europe, and it was a young person, so it surprised me to hear this.
Okay.
But he declared very loudly to everybody in the toilet. He was at the urinal.
Oh.
Just painting a
How many people were in the toilet?
It was a busy pub, so there were quite a few.
Okay.
But he declared very loudly that you have to support an English club in Europe. And I think
Oh.
you used to hear that a lot more.
You did,
Maybe
yeah.
it is dying out, but the guy was quite young, and I was surprised to hear it from a young person. And I've always thought that's a bit daft. Like, no, you don't. I think it's different. Obviously, you don't have to support your direct rivals in Europe, but it's up to you, isn't it? It's a global game. Maybe you were more enamoured by the style of a European team than you are of, say, Liverpool or Chelsea or Arsenal or whoever.
Yeah.
Like, you might have plenty of reasons to not like a particular facet of the English team in Europe and think, you know what? Go on, Roma, for whatever reason. And I think it's a very sort of isolationist idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was an isolationist idea, although those who are isolationists would probably, agree with this young chap in the bogs. But I think it's probably an old-fashioned one when it felt like one English team, or one team from every country in the European Cup was representing England, and also or representing the countries, and also less movement of players around. So each team probably did have a lot fewer foreigners. I mean, there was a 3-foreigner rule for crying out loud, which seems mad now. So I think I think of its time, I think that's fair. I think because me, I'm a bit old-fashioned with regards to this. I tend to support the English or the British teams in Europe. So I think it probably goes back to that. And when Manchester United won the treble, certainly at my school, now I know I went to school in Surrey, lots of Man United fans, but it did feel like that a lot of people were quite happy, and there was an element of they were obviously representing themselves, but representing England as well. But you are going back 25 years.
Yes. I think it's a case-by-case basis. It's not just automatically you should support the team. Because
but I should also say, by the way, that the following year or whenever it was when Manchester United... they lost. I think they lost away to Fiorentina. If I'm going to pinpoint the actual game, and yet a lot of people at school were really pleased they lost. Yeah. So maybe it was a case of you've had your victory. Right, we're bored of you now. Whatever.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
it does. I think again it moves and changes.
And the point you made about there are just fewer teams in Europe back then as well.
Yeah.
It feels a bit more diluted now. Like there was genuinely a stage earlier this season where I was like, oh yeah, there's Europa League today. And I was like, oh, West Ham. I was like, oh. And I felt like my internal kid being like, oh, watch it and, root for them. I was like, I don't care.
Really? I've still got a little bit of
care.
that, and I did have that for West Ham and also Aston Villa, actually. Just the Claret and Blues. Burnley, get into Europe, I'll support you.
It's very unlikely to happen, isn't it? But it is possible under the new system that 11 Premier League clubs could play in Europe.
Yeah, it's too many. Too many teams to support.
That scenario will almost certainly never actually happen, but it's still... you're right, it is a saturation issue.
I think it does depend, though. I think because, when Fulham went all the way in the Europa League, because it was so unlikely, and let's be honest, very few people hate Fulham. Brentford fans, all right, I hear you. Then I think people can get behind that, But yeah, there's with regards to received wisdom, there's been a few that have finally fallen by the wayside, a good touch for a big man, all these kind of ones.
That seemed to really crystallise around Peter Crouch, didn't it? And was then banished forever. He did a real service there.
I think
he actually held up the...
Zlatan Ibrahimovic kicked it firmly into touch.
Yeah, overhead kicked it into England's net.
I think Crouch's thing that helped was that he wasn't actually that good at heading the ball.
He was fairly handy, I would say.
Because he would win headers, but technically he wasn't a very good header of the ball. And Can I throw one in there
Please.
that's a bit more, I suppose it's a bit more modern, really. Although maybe it's died down with analytics and stuff like that, and just people looking back retrospectively at this. You know, Newcastle's entertainers.
Yeah.
Deemed as this, attacking, almost kind of off-the-cuff force and didn't care what happened at the back. In that 95-96 season, they conceded 9 goals at home.
Yeah.
Wow.
They had the best home record comfortably in the league.
Yeah.
And, I think they obviously conceded a few more away from home, but they were pretty reliable away from home as well. Because obviously everyone just remembers the 4-3
Yeah.
and the back-and-forth nature of that game at Anfield against Liverpool. But, conceded 9 goals at home.
That's a very good stat. I mean, I think, there are some things, again, though, that I'm sort of glad. I think they're very, very particular to this country with regards to receivers. Of course, I mean, that'll be the same the world over. And another one is that you're sort of jinky, creative type player. Nowadays, perhaps we're not farming them out to the wing as much. There's a lot of talk about Phil Foden playing in the centre, for example. Again, and that idea that if you've got a little bit of skill or a little bit of pace, you have to be on the wing. Yes, that's I get that. I do kind of get that. But I think those kind of old-fashioned kind of English receiver wisdoms, certainly, or like a defensive midfielder has to be really tough tackling and you're just there as a blocker, really, same as a centre half, But again, these have largely gone, or certainly are going. So, interesting question from Bobby there. Nice one. One from Ben here, who says, "Ramblers, you are collectively loving the Ten Hag version of Manchester United." We certainly are, Ben.
Shall I go? I don't need to.
Do you mean leave or go off?
I mean leave.
Are we collectively loving it, Vish?
I mean, you are part of the collective, so you can say
I
no.
suppose, yeah.
Podcast over club, yeah?
That's true, yeah.
Which players could Manchester United sign over the summer that wouldn't really be good for Manchester United, but would be great for the Ramble? I'm thinking the 2016 version of Hatton Ben Arthur. He would be perfect. Cheers, Ben. That's lovely.
Yeah.
So he's saying this is open to a bit of fantasy here, because if you go back to 2016 Hatton Ben Arthur, any names that leap to mind?
Well,
Jim?
one that was a legitimate transfer link a little while ago that probably won't happen now, but Mauro Icardi would be. He's a player where you can see how it would make sense in the squad, actually, in terms of an older player, a bit more experienced, who can help Højlund out, help him develop, be there when Højlund's not available, which has been an issue. He's a very good player.
Definitely help him develop. Yeah.
Or just help him develop by filling in when he's injured or whatever. I'm trying to make the case for it, but it's not just Mauro, is it?
No. Do you know what?
So that was a broadly sincere answer then.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fucking amazing for us, wouldn't it?
Really,
for you and me personally, who are so into keeping up with the Icardis.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
It's impossible.
I was thinking that.
Are you joining in with us here?
Yeah.
Okay, good man. It's come to that, isn't it?
I thought it'd
you
be,
can't beat him, join him.
I thought it'd be brilliant if United signed Balotelli.
Oh yeah, I thought that one as well. Why always you?
Yeah, because it would be a situation where, I don't know, like this idea that Ten Hag would sit with him and be like, right, we know this is a price for all of us, but you're here. Can you promise to be on your best behaviour? I can't promise that.
No.
Okay.
Not promising anything.
But we really do need you. I know that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's why I can't make any promises.
Yeah.
I'm here for my enjoyment, not yours.
He'd be pumped for the derby as well and get sent off within the first few minutes.
Another one that would be great, and maybe a little bit more realistic than that, but still out there, with the caveat that United occasionally sign a Wout Weghorst or an Odion Ighalo, where it just comes out of nowhere. Mitro.
Oh.
I thought you were going to say Vardy.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but that would be a genuinely good signing.
Yeah, Mitro would be. Yeah. It would be closer to the good signing than the Icardi one, with a lot of the same reasonings.
Mitrovic is one of the best strikers on the planet, Jim. Have you seen his goal scoring tally in Saudi
Is that all it
Arabia?
takes? A couple of seasons for Fulham, that's it.
Couple of unbelievably good seasons, more than a couple.
Speaking of goal tallies in Saudi Arabia, you seen who leads the way?
Yeah. Funnily enough, get him back.
Get him back.
Get him back. Do you know what I
Third
thought to
time's a
myself?
charm.
This would be classic. This Manchester United, getting Eden Hazard to come out of retirement. He's like, no, I'm done. I'm totally done. One last job. Well, all right then.
Do I have to run?
Just
Not really.
But have you seen
I don't have to eat my lunch in the hallway as well, do you? No, you're fine.
Ten Hag just going. But did you know? Obviously, he knows the Premier League really well. He's not bothered, Eric. He doesn't. He's openly said he's not fussed. But yeah,
No.
why
Doesn't
not?
know who you are.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that.
The only thing you've spoken about post-retirement is eating.
Eating. Yeah. Glorious.
Like Cassano, he said that, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
It was put to Antonio Cassano. Like, what are you going to do when you retire? And he said, "I'm going to eat everything."
Top man. Cassano of old.
Yeah.
Any version of Cassano, I think. Because again, the mercurial talent as
Amazing player when he, actually, even when he wasn't that up for it.
True enough. All right then, chaps, let's have a quick break.
This one comes from Marcus.
Go on, lad.
Not that one.
Oh, what's your favourite England moment?
With the current financial rules, specifically the sale of academy players being considered as sheer profit, are we seeing the end of the iconic one-club player so that clubs can balance their books?
That's a good question.
It is. I think maybe it's the other way, really. Because you'd be in a situation where a club who have a very good academy bring through players. It's the players that end up being around the crown jewel in those youth teams that end up getting sold, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at Chelsea now, with all the players that they sign, I appreciate Conor Gallagher as someone who has been talked about as being sold for profit.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, he's been an ever-present this season. If you go someone a bit younger and an equally more dysfunctional football team, can you see Kobe Mainu going elsewhere in his career?
What I was going to say
United?
is Phil Foden.
A bit different though, because it's about success. But then you still get a player like Phil Foden coming through, while they also sell. So they're selling Doyle to Wolves at the moment. Man City, they. Further down the chain, obviously Sancho's gone. Other younger players have gone elsewhere.
Romeo Lavia was an example of
Romeo
that.
Lavia, Frimpong, Leverkusen as well, formerly of Man City. So I feel like it more affects the other players, but you're still going to get those one club players still coming through. They're just going to be out of this world.
They're actually quite a rare thing anyway, though, aren't they?
That's true as well,
the type of one club players we tend to talk about. I mean, Paolo Maldini would be the ultimate example. Steven Gerrard would be had he not gone to LA Galaxy, of course.
Gary Neville.
Gary Neville, indeed. They tend to be these I mean, people call Gary Neville Fred the Red, don't they? They're such a part of the fabric of the club. They're almost an emblem of it as much as a player of it. And I don't think that will ever go. I think you're right. And actually, Gallagher, despite his loan spells, obviously, is... does that...
Nah, you don't want to have it. Nah.
You can't even go on loan?
No.
All right. Well, let's talk about Gallagher anyway. I think you're right. I think he is sort of playing himself into a position where it would be silly to sell him. They're better off finding other ways to bring that money in. And also, this point might be moot soon because the financial rules are changing relatively soon. We don't know exactly how they're going to happen yet, or even if it's going to happen. But the suggestion is that these parameters will change. So who knows?
It's funny actually because when I first read that question, I thought to myself, I think we might see the end of it. But then I started thinking a bit more about it and thought about some of the things that you mentioned there, Vish, and they are rare. I mean, you think of the spectacular examples, as you said. You already mentioned Maldini, and Paul Scholes would be another one. But actually, I think it's less to do with financial rules per se. And I think it's more to do with just the lie of the land of a particular club. Man City would have to have an incredible sort of turn down or whatever in performance. They'd have to become really, really crap for Phil Foden to think in a few years' time. This is rubbish round here. I'm going to go. I suppose the argument would be that there's fewer clubs with lots of money who could afford, say, a Phil Foden. So where would he go? Would he go elsewhere in England? Probably not. Would he go to Real Madrid or I don't know, PSG or something? There's fewer destinations. Whereas years ago, you might go to one of the big clubs in Italy or something like that, which therefore means that actually the one club men in the past, they might have gone off somewhere. If you see what I mean, because there was more destinations. So I think ultimately you can sort of move the furniture around on this one, but I just think it remains a sort of incredibly rare thing. And we also hone in on the big examples. There are players who have played for teams lower down the leagues or maybe even lower down the pyramids, who of course are one club players, but they obviously don't get the headlines. So yeah, I don't think it is the end of it, but they are rare and to be cherished by the supporters of particular clubs where it happens.
It's certainly a new quirk to it, isn't it? I think it's a strange quirk of the current rules, isn't it? That I don't think we were kind of mentally ready for so many academy players to be being sort of shipped off before they were ready.
Yep.
Almost, it's how it feels, isn't it? Like they've been stuck on a train and sent off to boarding school. Like, I don't love it either because it stops. It feels like it kind of actually stops players getting a chance to really make a name for themselves at their own clubs. And obviously, clubs have to turn a profit and have to be sustainable, and it makes sense to use the sort of academy. It makes academies feel like puppy farms in a way that's slightly gross.
It does. And look, there's a lot of details here and a lot of opinions people have. I mean, to kind of look at it from a different point of view, if in the history of professional football, it's always been very, very, very few players go on and make it.
Yeah.
And if you're an academy player, you may not make it at Chelsea or Man City, but if you do get loaned out somewhere else or even sold, you come as, this guy's a Man City product, this guy's an Arsenal product, and so that does sort of boost your CV a little bit.
Tommy Doyle's a great example of that. As I mentioned already, like doing really, really well at Wolves, might not have got that move. Otherwise, so it does swing both ways.
It does. I mean, again, people will have strong opinions on. We spoke. I think we mentioned last week, was it, on the mailbag, about the your kind of catchment areas and who can take players and so on. And again, people have very understandably strong opinions on that. Perhaps we're getting away from the actual question here, but it is interesting, and I think that I whatever rules are in place, like I say, I think actually you could argue that maybe you would see one or two more one club players because of fewer destinations, especially in the Premier League where there's a lot of money. But of course, the landscape may change. We think that nowadays when things look very, very firm and very, very sustainable or consistent, doesn't mean to say in 10 years' time that things might not change. I mean, Serie A was the big one in the 90s, and obviously things have changed around. So, it's a good question, my fellow Marcus, and one I think I'll probably keep pondering once, even when we're out of the studio.
Go Away Tim has been in touch on Instagram.
He's called himself that.
He has, yeah. Or maybe someone's bothering him and he's had enough. Who knows? We can only speculate.
People say that to him so often he thinks, that's my name
I'm
now.
going to reclaim it.
Poor man. So you're welcome here, Tim.
Yeah, you are. He says, following on from Michael Owen's continuing appearances on Referees Mic'd Up, which other potentially weird ex-footballer should get his own TV show? Now, I'm going to jump straight in on this. He's not an ex-footballer yet, but I'm going to move that boundary myself. Jamie Vardy, club rep. On ITV2, it's the job, we all know this is the job that he considered quitting football for.
Yes.
We'd all like to see what would have happened. I think he's still got it in him to be the world's most menacing club rep.
I'm going to jump in here and just go, yes, Jim, yes.
Yes.
Get it commissioned. You don't need to convince. Yeah.
Rebecca's there as well, obviously.
Oh.
And she, there's a B plot every week, shall we say. What you done now?
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost me?
They're on a little cruise going around. I don't know where would they're going around the Med, aren't they?
Yeah, sure.
And,
just hear a bloop. Was that a mobile phone again? Was it?
No.
What have you chucked over? I haven't chucked anything over the side.
Yeah. What Vardy would be doing is he'd be prank calling the Roonies. And then after hanging up and then chucking the phone into the safe.
Or she'd be doing that. How much is that going to cost? It's just a phone. That's not what I mean.
Yeah. I think genuinely, I want this to happen.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes we sit there and think, that'd be quite. This is good.
They do feel like a couple that will have some sort of reality TV future, surely.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But then, though, I think Vardy, would he be kind of, I think Vardy would be like, no, not for television. I just don't think that to try and contain
Jamie Vardy Uncut.
Yeah,
Jamie Vardy Nights. Is that what you're suggesting?
Jamie Vardy Uncut is just Jamie Vardy.
Sure.
I mean, what else can you uncut?
I feel like he'd
have to be nude. That's the only thing.
How about a show where he takes control of your stag, basically? He's your best man for the stag. Could you imagine it?
No, like Big Break, where they pick the balls out of the bag. So whichever snooker player was on your side to help you earn prizes.
I get slagged off for old references.
Yeah, he's old.
Big Break.
Basically,
but lovely to hear.
It was an old snooker show where there was a bag of balls, different colours, and there'd be a different snooker player associated with the colour. And Jim Davidson. And you'd pick it out, and that'd be the snooker player you get. I think. Do you occasionally get rubbish ones? I can't remember.
Well, they're all professionals.
They were all professionals, yeah. But then, so like that, you could have a stag do, and you'd pick a number, like the FA Cup draw.
Yeah, true.
And that person would organise your stag.
Oh,
I like it.
Jamie O'Hara's in charge of your special weekend. Great.
Michael Owen, this will be. This might be a bit dull. Yeah, no.
Are we standing next to Hal Webb all weekend as well?
This would be a very, very wholesome show. One for all the family. I think everybody would really enjoy. Just some kind of cookery program with Bukayo Saka, because he's got his own sauce now.
He does.
Yeah.
It'd just be delightful, wouldn't it? It would be lovely. And also, I think going round, in fact, you could go further afield, go abroad, go all over the place. It would just be beautiful content.
It would be enjoyable
to see Saka.
I
know we're not here for wholesome chat, everybody. Apologies, but I just suddenly got a bit starry-eyed.
I feel like he would need a partner. It'd be like The Trip.
Yeah.
With Bryden and Coogan.
Would you need someone to compliment him, or someone who's the opposite?
Well, you'd want a bit of back and forth between Saka and someone else, but you'd also want someone who you're kind of rooting for as well.
Declan Rice.
Yeah,
because he comes.
We're not winning the Spurs vote with that lineup, though, are they?
And that's a vote that we cover, isn't it?
Yeah, we do.
It really is.
You kind of want a broader audience as possible. This is what I was thinking.
Okay.
Chiellini.
Son.
Chiellini. And they're bonded by that. Because he's actually quite a charismatic guy.
He is, yeah.
He is. Yeah.
And again, not winning the Spurs vote.
Yeah.
No, so if you wanted wholesome, you wanted
This is the history of wholesome.
Son.
Yeah, maybe rival on rival, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think both lovely men who we all like.
Yeah. Another very popular genre of TV show is, of course, the detective drama.
It is.
As you both know, I will bring this up at every possible opportunity, because Ian Dzeu, post-football, became a detective in the Netherlands, in his native Netherlands. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know how sort of noirish his life is. I'm not sure if it works like that in reality, but I choose to believe so. And you'd maybe have him, like, you get him some sort of, partner, make some sort of odd couple detective duo.
Mickey van der Ven, his father said recently that he was that he presents a show in the Netherlands, a detective show or something. Yeah, so Van der Ven, and because you need someone to catch the criminals. Who better than the fastest man on the planet?
Yeah.
Sorry, who better than the dad of the fastest man on the planet?
No, Mickey.
Oh, you think Mickey would do it as well? Okay.
Yeah.
Because his dad's otherwise occupied.
I know he's not the fastest man on the planet, by the way, everybody. There's very much a designated race.
Did you really think someone was going to message in, be like, sorry, just on this, Mickey van der Ven is not the fastest man in the world?
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, okay, I like that. So, Ian Dzeu and Mickey van der Ven solving crime.
What about Martin O'Neill? He loves crime. Well, it's in solving crime.
Maybe would he present the show? I go, right, everybody, and now over to the Netherlands to see what they're getting up to.
What a weird show this would be. Yeah. Martin O'Neill presents a Dutch crime show.
But for me...
sort of semi-fictionalised and semi-real. Mickey van der Ven's dad's in it, and Mickey van der Ven's in it.
Yeah. Talking of Dutch shows...
Mickey van der Ven's dad in it, not for long. We don't even really know why he's there.
It was the only way we could get Mickey van der Ven.
Yeah. What about Antiques Roadshow with Harry Redknapp? Just trying to con the public.
Ooh,
it's not worth that.
No, it's not worth that. I'll tell you what, I'll do you a deal.
Is there an auction sort of thing in Antiques Roadshow?
I don't believe so.
No.
Sort of very much against the spirit of it.
This is a lovely piece that your late great grandmother left you. Is that we'll sell it then? How much?
Yeah.
Well, give it to me now. Give me £1 million now.
I just want Barry Fry involved.
Yeah. What is the one with the auction where they get prizes?
Yeah, there is something. But Barry Fry,
the one with the tan, the bad tan man.
Bargain hunt.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that with Ben White.
I feel that he only has one kind of it's not even attribute, is it? Something going for him in that role. It's got to be Barry Fry. Sold to the fat bastard in the blue blazer. Him doing an auction would be great television.
It would.
For a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only on once a week.
Great point, yeah.
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.